Hello, it's great to be here, even if it is only virtually, and to have the chance to share with you what we've been doing in South Australia Health to show how our services are providing real and measurable value to the department. I was asked to speak today on how we've developed a method of demonstrating that mediated literature searches performed by librarians can save clinicians time. I thought I'd preface what I was about to say with a brief description of the South Australia Health Library Service for those of you who might not be familiar with our setup in South Australia. The South Australia Health Library Service looks after all the staff of the South Australian Department of Health and Wellbeing. The department changed its name recently in a state election earlier this year. As Knowledge Manager, I head the library service, and my team is located in physical library spaces in the teaching hospitals throughout Adelaide metropolitan area. We do have some print material available in these libraries, in the site libraries, but most of our material is available electronically and delivered via the library service website, SALAS. SALAS actually isn't an acronym, it's the name of the Roman goddess of health and well-being. One of the main things that I've done since I moved into this role was to consolidate the old site-based hospital library licenses and consolidate them to be licensed as enterprise-wide licenses, and so make the information resources available to all of the staff of SA Health. It meant that SA Health staff now have access to all the same information resources regardless of where they're physically located, even in rural and remote areas. And having equity of access to the information resources was one of the very important things for us in the SA Health Library Service team. We think that that's been quite an important achievement. So how do we deal with our literature searches? Well, the literature searches can come to us in several ways. We have an input form on the SALAS website. Of course, people can email in a search, ring up and ask by phone, or come in person into the libraries. At the time of the collection of the search request, we obtain data on the type of patron who's asking for the request and the purpose the search is going to be put to, whether it's for patient care, administration, for educational purposes, and so on. We also actively encourage our patrons to provide some feedback when we deliver our search results to them and to tell us exactly what they put the search results to, if that makes sense. We would like to have an indication of how the literature that we retrieved for them helped them in their work. We can then get an idea of how the searches themselves can improve the work of the department and in the delivery of the most appropriate care for particular patients. This is actually quite an interesting project, and I could talk about that for quite some time and how we do it, but that's for another occasion. One of the reasons that we were collecting data was to try to show how we as health librarians were able to save that most valuable commodity of the clinicians, and that is their time. We also wanted to be able to capture this data in such a way that we could present it as a key performance indicator that could be easily updated and replicated and presented on a regular basis to the upline management in the Department of Health. The work was inspired by the results of the report commissioned by ALIA from the independent economic consultants SGS Economics and Planning, and that report was released, you might remember, in 2013. What the consultants did was to undertake a cost-benefit study to determine or value the direct benefits provided to health library users, our patrons, reflecting the efficiency value, which was the way they described it, of having health librarians retrieve information for the users as opposed to the time the clinicians took performing their own literature searches. And they referred to that as a cost of clinicians performing their own researches. The key phase for our project in the document and in the conclusions of the document was as follows. Library staff are much more efficient than their users when it comes to the time it takes to perform research literature reviews, document delivery and referencing tasks. In fact, 3.3 times faster. Since 2014, we've been collecting data on the turnaround time of us performing mediated searches, and the average duration of a search was shown to be 2.3 hours for both the fiscal years of 2015-16 and 2016-17. So knowing this, we had fairly simple calculations. But first, what we did was to strip the number of literature searches out, or to identify the number of literature searches performed on behalf of clinicians, which were identified by those clinicians themselves as being directly pertaining to patient care or to answer a particular clinical question. That is, we moved away from including anything to do with administration or education and so on, to identify what was going to be directly applicable to patient care. Based on that, we then worked out the following, that with the we came up with 788, I beg your pardon, searches. So based on that indicator developed by SGS Economics, that librarians can perform a search 3.3 times faster than clinicians, we then worked out that if we'd done 778 mediated searches on behalf of clinicians, and that the average duration for a librarian was 2.3 hours per search, if a clinician were to do a search, you'd times 2.3 by 3.3 and come up with 7.59. So we've then worked out that the time that the clinicians would have taken to perform those 788 searches amounted to a total of 5,980.92 hours during 2016-2017. That's nearly 6,000 hours that would have been spent by clinicians to do the same searches as the librarians. We put this model to the Library Services Financial Business Advisor, and she tested the model and endorsed it. And so we then presented the findings as a key performance indicator to both the Chief Finance Officer of the Department of Health and the Chief Medical Officer, and from there it went up through to the Department Executive. My colleague Lindsay Harris and I subsequently published a paper in the journal Business Information Review in which we described the various key performance indicators that we'd developed, and included this one, of course, which we call mediated literature searching and clinicians' time saved. I've sent the DOI of the article to today's organisers, so if you're interested in reading the complete article, you should be able to get it from that. It is an open access article, and so you should have no trouble downloading it, but if you do, please don't hesitate to email me and I'll be happy to send you a copy. Of course, these analytical type things are never finished, and we're always looking at ways that we can improve our service. We're looking at the way we can improve the way we collect data and the management of our literature search service. We're not currently using any tools such as RefTracker to do this, but I would be very interested in learning if anybody is using something like RefTracker, if they could get in touch with me and share their experiences, because that would help us in our analysis of what we might need to do and how we could improve our service and choose the most appropriate tool for the purpose. So thank you very much. I hope that you would not hesitate to get in touch with me and share your findings. So I'll finish with a challenge. It's been 5 years since that original survey from SGS Economics and Planning was commissioned by Alia. I'd like to suggest that we do it again, and that way we would get an updated insight in how our services do provide value. We found it extremely useful to build on the work of this particular survey, and I would love to see it updated. So please, Alia, can we do it again? Thanks for listening. Please don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions or comments after today. Bye-bye.